So let me ask you a question because here's where I think you've flipped the model. Because most of the conversations with customers that we're having today start out about us, our product that we are selling, that we're creating a roadmap on, that we're selling, that we're cross-selling, that we're upselling, right? And Gong did a big study and they showed that the sales rep talks 2/3 to 3/4 of the time. So our conversations usually start out about us, and that's how vendors relate, right? We talk about us, where what you just said is, I want to know about your challenges. And they might be out here this broad where we're going to help you with this much. But what they want is the trusted advisor, right? They want somebody that's not a vendor selling them. They want somebody that comes in, understands their bigger picture, and can give them a different point of view, can give them something else to think about, right? And hopefully within there, and almost always, there is a path for us as an organization to help them if we're talking to our true ICP. I think you just flipped the model there because my biggest takeaway is talk to them about them, not talk to them about us. Is that like a just kind of a very broad umbrella over what you just said, a good takeaway?
Yeah, well, I think, one of the best pieces of advice I got early on in my career was we were doing sort of a voice of the customer survey. And, my boss at the time, she was like, you're leading the witness. If you ask them what they like, you're pointing them down a path. And I was like, oh, and it's understanding when you're having these conversations, you're not there to solve, you're not there to prove, like you just are interviewing them and hearing what's going on. And then you start getting, but it's just one anecdote. And the problem is you need multiple anecdotes to start seeing a trend. And so, part of the challenge too is if you talk specifically about the product and you're like, hey, how do you like, we're headed in this direction. Do you like option A or B? Well, they're going to choose A or B. And then that's where you go. But if you ask questions around, in a perfect world in 3 years, like what would somebody in this space be doing? They might be throwing out option C. And you're like, well, that's interesting. But then if a whole bunch of people start throwing out option C, maybe you actually realize more often than not that your option A actually solves option C, but you're using the wrong language or you're presenting it very tactically, but it leads towards something bigger. And I think this is where if you can get them to talk, what's on their mind? What are they working? Like, what are they looking for? You can start getting those trends and then you start connecting the department level. What are they saying to the product team? What are they saying to the sales team? Because you start backing it up a little bit because you don't want to hear a couple things and then run in that direction. But it's really about understanding, where do you view the market going and your value? Where do your customers and future customers see you? And what's the delta between the two? Because that's what marketing is, right? Is fixing that delta. And it's either accelerating, picking up on, the one thing that they like. Maybe it's the one thing they don't like, but it's just sort of hearing it. And I think, going back to your original question of, why is this so hard? 15% of marketing teams are doing it. The challenge is, I believe very strongly in this. I get very busy. I can tell you, like, I don't talk to customers enough. Like, it gets really, really hard to keep this a priority because you have everything else coming. And then, we actually had an open house at our office. Some customers came and I was like, oh yeah, this is so great. Like just having these conversations. And it's like, yes, I have to get back into it. And then you do it. And then we're doing more with less. We all are doing more with less. And so making it an ongoing priority can be really challenging. But the more that you can train everybody, hey, if you talk to a customer, here's one question to ask, or pick their brain about this. You can start getting, this is where AI, going back to our original conversation, if you can feed the right questions, even in these other, department level conversations, AI can still pull it out for you. And so then you can start, over time still seeing what's going on, or you can listen, you can train the AI. These are the 3 things I'm looking for. Go listen to the first calls that we're recording. Do you see, like, what do you see coming up? And just see what's coming up from a trends perspective to sort of bubble it up. Like, as much as I want to be on the phone with customers all the time, we don't all have time. And frankly, they don't have time to do it. It's, every one of their vendors asked for 30 minutes. They don't have the time, but we are talking to them. And so it's still pulling the threads in a way that can intelligently influence it. But it's all about, what are the unasked questions? What's on their mind? What do they care about? And then how do you feed into that?